Hi, I'm Kat, and this is my podcast at Soul Level. It is my intention for this podcast to inspire my listeners to be brave and courageous, to build their own lives in a way that makes them truly, truly happy, healthy, satisfied, and at peace. I will do this by sharing my own stories and how I go about building the life of my dreams, as well as through the stories of others inspiring guests. So welcome, may this podcast be an inspiration on your path. Hello and welcome back to my podcast. I have Helen with me today, who I will be interviewing. Helen is the owner of Helen's Healing Hut, where she offers many services for well-being, working in a holistic and spiritual way, including Indian head massage, Reiki, sound healing, counselling and psychic mediumship readings. Helen has been a counsellor for 24 years, a holistic therapist for 5 years, and a psychic medium for as long as she can remember. She now enjoys helping others to develop their psychic and mediumship abilities. Helen is an animal lover, and her dog Alex works with her in the Healing Hut. He is a Romanian ex-street dog and has a very sweet, calming and healing energy of his own. He's a very special soul, and you'll be able to meet Alex when visiting Helen's hut. The hut was opened in January 2022 after Helen saw a vision of it in the year before, and it is one of the best things that has happened to her. So thank you very much and welcome, Helen.
Hi Kat, it's lovely to be here.
Thank you very much for agreeing to this. I look forward to our conversation because we will definitely be touching on mediumship. But before we go into it, I was wondering if you could maybe share a little bit of your story as to how you got to do what you do now and how did you get to open your healing hut?
Yeah, sure. Well, as you said in the intro, I've been a counsellor for all of those 24 years. And I worked very much full-time in counselling for a number of years, and then I decided to not work full-time in counselling and start exploring other lines of work. So I actually became a fitness instructor. That kind of was a really lovely change for me. And then I was very heavily involved in fitness for quite a number of years. But then I was feeling more of a pull then to start exploring more of the holistic kind of work. So the Reiki and the Indian head massage and readings and the mediumship. So it's kind of evolved really. It's gone from me being a full-time counsellor to then being a full-time holistic therapist, if you like. Hope that answered your question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. So that's very interesting because I have many people, I mean, the stories that I listen to whenever I listen or ask someone who is within the spiritual, let's call it industry now, is that they often have some sort of a beginning in definitely working with people or something to do with well-being, health, that kind of area. So I suppose I was just wondering if you wanted to share with us why you felt like leaving counselling and fitness. Was it not up to par, or I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah, I feel like I maybe just reached a point of, I wouldn't say burnout, but I felt ready for a change after doing counselling full-time for, must have been 10, 11, 12 years. I felt like, and it was probably coming from my soul, was that I was wanting a change and I was ready for something a little bit different. And I've always been a people person, so either working with people, talking with people, I've always been very, very much that that kind of person. And I think that maybe after all those years of full-time counselling, I was ready for something a little bit lighter in energy, and you can't get much more of a contrast really from counselling to fitness instructing. So there was I think I personally was just ready for that change. And so therefore the counselling then became more of a part-time thing rather than a full-time thing. And so, yeah, that's why it was just a following of my own, I guess, feelings and where I was at, just ready for a change.
Yeah. Okay. And I wanted to touch on something that you've mentioned, well, that was mentioned in the introduction, and that about being a psychic medium for as long as you can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you tell us a little bit more about that? Was that as in any way apparent when you were still working as a counselor, maybe,
Yeah.
or even in fitness?
Yeah, sure. So as a child, I was always very, very sensitive to people's emotions. I could always very readily pick up on how somebody was feeling. And I do remember that from being a very, very young child. And I guess that is part of being a psychic card reader, if you like, or a medium, is that being sensitive to emotions, whether that's the person you've got in front of you or someone you're connecting with in the world of spirit, is something I guess that, has to be for me. But my first experience of seeing a spirit, if you like, was actually an animal. It was my cat. And I've always been an animal lover, huge animal lover. And I had this beautiful cat, and she passed away. And I think it was a couple of months later. I was about 19 at the time, so I was like a teenager, young, very, very young adult. And I was just sat in the living room chatting with my mum. And I just saw my cat, the spirit of my cat, walk across the living room floor.
Oh,
And I
wow.
just followed her, I just watched her walk right across. And she disappeared into, I'm giving my age away here, but she disappeared into the magazine rack. There's a time where you had magazine racks. I think it was mahogany. And the cat disappeared into the magazine rack. And I turned to my mum and I said, "Oh my God, did you just see that?" And she said, "What?" See what? And I said, "Simba has just walked across the living room floor and through the magazine rack." And my mum was very much a believer in all stuff like this. We both were. We were both big believers. And she was just, I think, more gutted that she hadn't seen the cat as well. But it was very, very clear. And it was like the cat was, I could see, I knew it was her because everything, but she was almost like transparent. She was like translucent. I could see through her. So that was kind of my first sighting, if you like, of a spirit. And I've always been, like, even as a youngster, would be very, very interested in things like my mum would, every month or so, would have this lady come around that would read tea leaves, and I was absolutely fascinated. And like, oh, I want my tea, I want to have my tea leaves read. I was only about 14. And then we started going spiritualist churches, and I think probably because my mum was a believer as well, that we both really enjoyed moving in these circles. And then I had kind of like my first big loss, which was my grandfather. He passed away when I was about 20. And I knew that he'd gone to spirit. I knew where where he was. But then this kind of like encouraged me even more to go to spiritualist churches, and I would go with my mum and my nan, so my grandfather's wife, and we would go literally every week to spiritualist church. So I've always had this really, really big interest and love for and fascination for all things spiritual.
Right. So that sounds really interesting. And obviously, you have at some point decided that, I mean, not decided, but maybe you haven't considered to go into it any deeper or yourself. Would that be correct statement?
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what age I was, but I can recall being fairly young and going to a development group, because I think I always knew
Oh, okay.
from a young age that I wanted to develop kind of like develop the skills and be able to, I think probably had a pack of tarot cards when I was probably before my 21st birthday, but never really knew what to do. So, yeah. And then I do remember going to a development group with my mum, actually. We both went together. And then nothing really happened from that. I think then life might have taken a different turn, or and then I guess over the years I was dipping in and out of developing skills. And I went on and I had a family. Family life was hectic and took over, and then things can, like developing a psychic skill or developing mediumship abilities, kind of takes a back seat when you've got two small children.
Yeah. So what would you say happened that you went into it again?
I think probably a little bit more having that I had more time, and probably more of a pull, like, like I really need to really try and develop this further, and more of just so interested in it all, and so much of a desire to be able to pick up on things. I mean, you asked me before about when I was a counsellor, and it was really interesting because I can remember a time where I was actually working with somebody, a young person, and I very much felt like I was connecting with a grandmother in spirit, and I had to, in my mind, say, please step back, this is not appropriate, I'm counselling her. I can't stand
Right.
saying to the girl, like, I've got your grandmother here, and I guess when things like that happen and all these things add up, then I must have reached a point where, well, this has happened, that has happened, this has happened, all these things have happened, and now I really, really want to move forward with this and develop it to a point where I can actually give readings, and I can actually, kind of spend time with somebody and give them that connection.
Yeah. There's something that just popped into my mind as you were talking about this, because you obviously mentioned a lot of experience, not a lot of, but interest in the subject and experience when you were young, when you were a teen still. And I was wondering, because I have heard people who often have similar experiences, or are quite sensitive and are picking up other spirits in some way, but they're scared. And I feel like there's still a lot of fear around the subject, depending on where you are, maybe where you grew up. So I was hoping maybe you could share your experience and your understanding of what it is and how it is to work with spirit, and is spirit scary? Like, should we be scared? And anything on that would be very helpful.
Yeah, well, from a personal perspective, thankfully, I haven't experienced anything really scary or anything that's made me worried. But I know that wouldn't work for me. So my sense is that my spirit guide has never kind of like given me anything that would concern or worry me. But I know people have had experiences where things have happened where they've been scared of it. And I think, like, if you think about, like, horror movies and things where, things on the TV, it's very, very kind of sensational, isn't it? If they're going to put something on where someone's been, scared silly because something's happened. I mean, I've had things happen which could have scared somebody else. Like, I remember when my son was a baby, and my mum had been in spirit not very, very long, and I could hear some talking over the intercom. So son was upstairs asleep, I was downstairs. I mean, he's 23 now, so this is a long time ago. It's where you had a little plug-in intercom so that you could, if baby woke up, I think they have them with videos on and things, right, really technical nowadays. But I could actually hear voices in his room. A conversation was going on, and I went upstairs to check on him, and he was fast asleep, and there was clearly nobody in the room. Now, I knew that was probably my mum, that she was using her her emotional and spiritual intelligence to make a connection. Now that could have scared somebody, that could have been, so I guess it's quite subjective really. But that didn't scare me, that fascinated me. And that was just really, really incredible.
That's the thing, because I wonder, I mean, I have obviously my own, experience and my own, let's say, opinion on the subject, but that's why I wanted to ask, for whoever is listening and maybe have the same experiences, that they don't have to be scared, because this, I think you just said it, that fear is subjective really. It's what we project onto it. It doesn't mean this is not actually a scary situation. We think it's scary because we have this understanding from, as you said, whether it's movies or maybe, I don't know, maybe your family wasn't very keen on these subjects and they said that it's no good, or whatever the case may be, and you just have this belief in your mind that this is all scary. I mean, I totally understand it, especially if you've been watching horror movies since you were little. It's all scary, but they are all sensationalized, and it's a made up story. It's never real. I don't know of any movies that would actually convey the real experience or the real meaning of spirit coming into our lives.
Yeah.
If anyone knows a movie like that, please let me know. But I haven't seen one.
I also think as well, for people, that anybody who has experienced something that has been quite scary, or if somebody is experiencing something that they're not happy with, is that for us all to know and understand that we have a spirit guide that looks after us, and it's okay to, even if you don't know who your spirit guide is, or you don't even know what a spirit guide is, but if something's happening that you're not enjoying or you don't like, or it's making you feel uneasy, then just ask, your spirit guide or guardian angels to stop this from happening, that it's just not right for you, that it's just not. Because I have heard of people where they've said of things that have happened that they've been really uncomfortable with, and my advice has always been, well, ask your spirit guide to bring a stop to it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good to remember that it's within your power to say no. You don't have, it's like with anything, just kind of treat the spirit as a person. If they're coming into your space and you don't wish for them to do that, then you need to say it, right? Don't feel like you can't do that. Yeah. So thank you for that. So I'm interested in your mediumship circles, and if you, not maybe circles, but if you could tell us a little bit more about mediumship as a service, maybe if there are any other misconceptions that people have that you're aware of and we haven't mentioned it yet, if you could maybe tell us as well. And also, what could a person experience if they were to come to you for a reading? What do your readings look like?
Yeah, well, with all mediums are very, very different, because we all work in our own unique way. We all have different strengths in our abilities to connect. Personally, I like to work with really high energies, and so therefore when I do readings, my kind of my intention is always for the reading to be that messages that are given with the cards or connecting with spirit are for hope, inspiration, upliftment, empowerment, and healing as well. A lot of people don't realise when they go for a reading, that they're actually in need of healing. And a lot of people that I see walk out saying they feel so much better, and that can be because things that have been conveyed from the spirit world. As a medium, I am simply just a channel, so I will pick things up, and then it's like being a translator. You can see little things or see little images or hear little things, and then it's my job to translate that and put it into a message so that the person in front of me can understand. So for readings to be very, like I say, full of hope and insight is what I'm all about. And when you're developing your skills as a medium, it's very much about working with your strengths, working with where your strongest kind of senses are. So a lot of mediums are clairvoyant, so that means they'll see things within the mind's eye. A lot of mediums will be clairaudient, so they'll hear things that are coming, like just seem to appear into the mind or through the it's so hard to describe because people are different. But I think if you're a developing medium, definitely work with your strengths, work with what you feel that you're really strong with. And like I say, every medium is so different, which is so wonderful because you're a person, but you've also got this ability that you've decided to develop and just be the very best version of yourself as a medium, for sure.
So, do you think that anyone could develop mediumship, or is it some sort of a special skill that you're born with, or anything in between? I don't know. What's your take on that?
I think I've got mixed views on this. I think anybody can develop the skills if they wanted to do, for sure, because we all have intuition. We all have that sense of knowing. Everybody you speak to could probably say they was just thinking about somebody and then that person rang up or sent a text message. So that's like more of the psychic thing as well. But I do really strongly feel that we all have the ability, if we want to, then develop it. Then again, on saying that, I also believe that some people probably don't even really need to develop that much because it's just there. And the way that I sometimes look at this is that, think about certain athletes who are clearly kind of born runners and it's just there within them. Or if people who are like very naturally gifted in, maybe that they are really good at science, or they're really, really good at learning a language. So I think that for some people that it may just come so much more easier. But I definitely feel like anybody can if they wanted to. And then for some people, it's probably so much there that they little bits of tweaking and fine tuning, and then they are, an incredible psychic medium.
Yeah. So I'm guessing just to let people know, for your mediumship development circle, do you have any criteria if anyone wanted to join?
I think just an interest and a desire from the soul, really, to develop and move forwards, and to have that intention of wanting to develop, to then work really well, like very morally and ethically, and for it not to be anything that's and anything of any, like, in inverted commas, dark energies. I think just to have that really open mind and that open heart to develop skills to then go out there and do readings for other people, for it to be, like I say, with real good intentions.
So would you say it would be also okay for people to come in and develop even if they don't feel like doing readings for others in future?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do work with people who they're really interested, and they may want to just maybe interested in connecting and discovering and exploring, and then maybe pulling a card or two for themselves. But then usually then that does go on then, so then they want to then do a little reading for a friend or a friend of a friend.
Yeah, and it just
not
spreads.
Everybody wants to go on and then become like a reader, if you like. It's a very personal thing, but yeah, I would say that everybody that does come through to start developing the skills have it's almost like got this, like a pull. It's like just got to really feel like I need to be here, or that the timing's just really right. They've maybe been thinking about it for a while, and then they'll see a development group that's been advertised, and it just seems to be, the things are being aligned for them.
Yeah. So they feel like it, and they're being, lit up by this information or whatever, then it's a good sign that it might be good for them to do so. And I wanted to ask a little bit on that because I was wondering if you can maybe, from your point of view, share with us how did you find the mediumship development journey and what people could potentially expect when they go on that journey themselves? What could it look like? Because I think a lot of times we might think it's all about just talking with spirit and doing readings, but there's so much more into it.
Yeah. Well, my own experience of attending groups have been very, very mixed, very varied over the years. I have attended quite a lot. Some have been brilliant and some have been absolutely awful. And that can be down to just kind of dynamics within the group, ego of a group leader. There can be lots of different kind of aspects there.
So if you don't like one, so if you don't like a particular group, let's say, it doesn't mean, don't write it off completely.
Yeah, it might just be that group isn't for you, or the energies within that group are not for you. Yeah, definitely. And I can only speak for the groups which I run. I do like to always share my take on things, but always stress that this is my belief, this is my understanding, this is how I work, and you might want to work differently that, or you may have different beliefs of that. But very, very much so is that within a group, it's exercises that I do with people, which then will get people to kind of like test and try out, see what they pick up, and for a group to be very safe environments so that everybody feels okay to share what they want to share. It doesn't matter if it's wrong, because I always say that if you get something wrong, it's not a bad thing, it's an opportunity to learn something new. It's very, very much a positive thing. And that's, I feel, is really important with a group, is that you feel comfortable, that you can just be yourself and you can take part in exercises and not worry about getting things wrong. For the focus to be on, it's all about learning, and we learn from one another, and just for it to be that very for that energy to be there within a group. And I feel that in the past, in the groups which I've not enjoyed, because that energy hasn't been there. So I guess in a lot of aspects, groups that I run, a lot of the ways in which I put them together is how I don't want them to be, because of my own experiences, or how I do a particular element. I remember that from when I was at a group, and that I really liked that, or I remember something from another group and I really would not want to put that into my group. So that's, and I want everybody, a little bit like where readings are concerned, when I get to the end of a development group, or even a session within a development group, like a course if you like, or at the end of a reading, for somebody to go out feeling empowered and uplifted with a spring in the step, then I feel I've done my job. I've done my job there, and I feel really happy with that. I would not want somebody to walk away feeling anything else but that. And I think that's really important. That's how you should walk away from a reading or from a development group session.
Yeah. I was wondering if you have any thoughts on how how your life could actually, let me reframe that. If you have any thoughts of why spirit wants to contact us, like why would anyone want to even consider it, like what's the point? Or I don't know if you have anything.
It's a really, really good question. I'm sure people do think that. And as I said earlier on, this is my belief, my perspective, my viewpoint. I believe in a spirit world. I believe that when somebody passes away, their spirit goes over to the spirit world, and then that's where they then live. That's where they reside. And I've connected with many, many spirits who have told me that it is just such a really, really beautiful place to be. It's such a beautiful place. It's just so peaceful, and it's like, and they've described how amazing it is. And I feel that spirits in the spirit world then see an opportunity to connect them with the people that are left here on what a lot of people refer to as the earth plane, or in the physical living world. And so then if you think about it, if you've got somebody who's feeling drawn to go and have a reading, and they're feeling pulled to go and do that and have a connection, then you've got their loved ones over in the spirit world, and they're seeing this. They know that that person is going to be going for a reading, say with you or me or somebody else. Then like both parties are going to get quite excited about that, because a connection can be made. And then it's the person in the middle, the medium, like you, me, other mediums. We then have the privilege of relaying those messages from spirit. So it's from spirit through spirit to spirit. We have the absolute honour and privilege of doing that. And a lot of the time, what you're doing there is you're giving the person you've got sat in front of you, you've given them the peace in their heart that their loved one is okay, and safe and sound in the spirit world, and with other family members that have maybe gone before, with pets. I connect with loads of pets in spirit. And to know that loved ones, whether that is, a passed over human or a passed over animal, to know that they are safe. And for the spirit world to also connect through and say, I'm okay, I'm doing really well, and I'm watching over you. And then evidence can be given, so the spirit world can give things to a medium, which then there's absolutely, there's no doubt that loved one in spirit is watching over them, because they've given something that is just so, like, they've been watching, and they've said, hey, I've seen you do this. That's proof, that's evidence that you are being watched over.
That's it. Yeah, I was just going to say that. You are being watched over, and you are being taken care of and looked after. And even when you don't go for a reading, right, they're just with us all the time.
Yeah.
And I found that often when you go for a reading, then it almost opens up a whole new door for you, and you might suddenly start noticing signs from spirit as well. Do you have any examples of any signs maybe that you received, or any people that you've given readings to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're very common ones, like feathers. If you see a feather, a lot of people say that's a sign from a loved one. A personal one for me is always the robin. So if I'm walking by myself and I've got thoughts, and then a little robin appears in front of me, I feel that I know that is one of my loved ones just checking in with me. So there's a lot of things, numbers. A lot of people report seeing, they'll look at the phone and it's 1111, or it's 2222, or they just keep seeing numbers. Like, numbers can be signs. Coins on the floor can be signs. So there's all these different signs. I do remember a couple of years ago doing a reading for a lady, and she said to me, I always know when spirit's with me because I see butterflies. So I thought, oh, that's really nice. And again, a lot of people report butterflies. And she said, but I don't just mean real life butterflies. Should I mean like butterflies that will just appear on the floor? She said, I've got a bag full. And she brought this bag out and she showed me, and there was a lot. She'd have collected these over the years, and it could be like a little butterfly brooch, or a butterfly toy, or a butterfly card, a greetings card with a butterfly on it. All these butterflies, and because she knew that there were signs, every time she sees one, she picks it up and puts it in this bag. So she's literally got a physical reminder with all these butterflies that she is being watched over. And that is I think that's just so lovely.
Yeah.
Because it's just so, like, to actually
it's
physically,
very uplifting.
Yeah, to find these physical butterflies in front of her, and to know that it's like, wow, it's just like so incredible.
Yeah. And would you say whenever you receive a sign of any sort, there always comes a sense and a knowing and a feeling that this is from spirit. Because, some people, skeptics maybe that might be listening, might think, well, butterflies, they're all over the place, or feathers. Yeah, sure, there are birds around, but
Yeah.
it always comes with this strong knowing. And because spirit is very subtle, we have to really just be able to accept and trust
Yeah.
the signs that we receive to be able to fully receive it, I suppose.
Yeah. For sure, yeah. And it makes me think of the difference between two aspects of this. So if you was to, let's just say, you're walking down the street, Kat, and then you may have various things on your mind or whatever, or maybe you're just walking down the street and a feather appears in front of you, and you believe that's a sign from spirit, and you feel comforted and loved and looked after, and you maybe pick that feather up and hold on to it, or whatever you do. How beautiful is that? And then the difference is you're walking along, you see a feather, and you just think, well, it's just a feather, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
That feels colder, and there's not the same sense of feeling, and each to their own. The people, some people are skeptical. Maybe that's where they're at. That's just where they're at that point in their life. I do often feel with skeptics that they do want to believe, that they do want to feel that there's more out there, and that, signs from spirit, this kind of stuff, but maybe they're just not ready. So the safest thing for them to do is to poo-poo it or dismiss it as, oh, it's just a feather, or it's just a butterfly.
Yeah, because it comes from within. It's this sense of just trusting. It's almost like you have to decide that you're going to trust if you want to be able to receive it fully, and maybe more, and continue receiving signs, and going into this and learning this whole experience, I suppose, in general, on daily basis. Because it's, we have this understanding that unless it's provable or physical, or I can touch it, then it's not real. But that's just our belief, right? So if we change the belief and trust it, then other things can happen. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And the key word there is trust, isn't it? And to have that trust and have that faith, I think is really lovely. Yeah.
And very needed. Definitely something you can develop when in a development circle. It's one of the big ones, I guess, isn't it? The trust.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, without the trust, the connection can't be that strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much for that. I wanted to also just quickly ask you about the sound healing that I mentioned in your introduction. If you can just tell us maybe how what it can help people with if they were to come to you for sound healing with Reiki and massage. I don't know.
Yeah, sound healing's amazing. Typically, I use instruments, but I love instruments that are very soothing and calming. So say a typical sound healing session, I would do maybe a meditation, which would help. And this could be one-to-one, or I also do this in group settings. Recently, I've done quite a few sessions where I've gone into a workplace, or done an event, and with the aim is for relaxation and mindfulness. So, for example, let me give you an example of a sound healing session that's got like a meditation with it as well. So the meditation part at the beginning, just to help people relax and get into that space, and just to teach them basic mindfulness techniques, which can be really useful in other parts of your life, absolutely. And then with the sound healing, and I do always encourage participants just to follow each sound moment by moment and not think about it, because if you can follow a sound moment by moment, again, that's you being very mindful, and it's allowing your mind to switch off a little bit and just follow the sounds of these beautiful instruments. And then some of the instruments that I use, the vibration of the sound can then send you into like a deeper sense of healing, a deeper sense of relaxation. So, for example, you've probably heard of Himalayan singing bowls, which is a
Yes.
bowl and like a metal bowl, and there's a wand or a stick, if you like, and just a gentle movement round circling this bowl starts to give off the vibration of the sound, starts to give off this incredible sound that can really intensify. And when you are kind of like immersed in those sounds, it's very difficult to think of other things because you are following these amazing sounds, and the vibration of the sounds as well can help you to maybe even go to different levels, or feel like you could be maybe lifting up or going lighter or going heavier. Absolutely incredible. And then I also have something which is called a kosher chime, and it's just very, very beautiful, soft, gentle chimes, which are just so relaxing, so peaceful. Then I also use rain sticks and like ocean wave drums, and kind of like, I don't play these instruments all together, they're one at a time. But you're basically going on, it's like going on a journey of sound whilst staying very mindful and allowing that mindfulness work to do its thing, but also then the sound, it's called sound healing, because of you can move away from a very, very busy mind and enter into like the realm of this beautiful sound and experience peace and experience whatever you are going to experience. And that can be very different for each and every person. It's a little bit like Reiki. Is the healing energy that comes from Reiki can give people different experiences. The healing energy that can come from sound and from these beautiful instruments, again, can be very, very different. And yeah, it's just really, really beautiful. And it's similar to, you've probably heard of a gong bath, where you
Yes.
go and you listen to the sounds of the gongs, which can be very, very loud and very powerful. I've been to those quite a few times and I absolutely love that. I personally prefer as a practitioner to go for more gentle sounds. Um, I'm not saying I never will go into gongs, but at the moment as well, I certainly don't have the space. I don't have the space in my healing hut for the huge gongs.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that is the sound healing, and I also kind of like can team it up with other things. So I'll do like Reiki, then followed by sound healing. So I am quite creative in the way in
Mhm.
which I put things together. So it can be meditation and sound healing, it can be Reiki and sound healing, it could be massage, then followed by sound healing. So it's very, very
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
That sounds amazing and very, very relaxing.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
um,
It is.
yeah, if anyone was interested, could you tell us how people can find you? And also if you do offer readings remotely as well, or is it do people just need to come to your healing hut?
Yeah, so where readings are concerned, they can obviously be done in person at my healing hut, which is in Manchester, UK. So that might not be convenient for everybody. So readings can be done over, kind of like video call, that kind of stuff. No problem at all. Then obviously the other stuff like the massage and the Reiki and the sound healing, like that's obviously that is more of an in-person thing. But certainly, yeah, I mean a lot of mediums now do readings over video calls, and I think it's amazing that, and I would imagine that lockdown probably would have had a big hand to play in that, because I know that in the past when I've gone for readings, I've always ever gone to somebody face to face, and the thought of having a reading over the telephone or a video call seemed a bit strange. But now it's much more
Yeah,
normal, and you can
yeah. And we all
connect.
know it works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can connect
yeah,
from anywhere in the world.
exactly. Yeah. So do you have any website or any social media pages that people can find you on?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook page which is called Helen's Healing Hut. I don't have a website, I just use that as my platform.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where people can find me.
Okay, well, that's great. I will share the link in the show notes as well. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me today, Helen. And
Thank you.
if there is anything else that you'd like to share with people before we go, then feel free. Otherwise, yeah, I'll just thank you again and see you soon, probably.
Yeah, I think as a lasting note, I'll say that if anybody is interested in developing their psychic and mediumship skills, then just go for it. If you're feeling that pull, if you're feeling the urge, go for it. Check out what's available near you, whether you want to go to an in-person group or an online group. And also as well, if anybody's struggling with personal stuff, with personal issues, or they're wanting to work through stuff, Reiki is a wonderful form of healing. As is counselling. Counselling is obviously a talking therapy, and it can be really good to talk and to have somebody who's not connected with you to be that person to kind of like walk your journey with you. So I would say to anybody who is feeling a pull towards healing, self-healing, working through stuff that may be current, ongoing, or something from the past, then if you're feeling that pull, then do definitely start exploring your options, because healing is a wonderful thing, whether that comes through talking or whether it comes through something like Reiki or sound healing, or whichever format, if your soul is pulling you towards healing, then go for it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for
You're
coming
welcome.
over, Helen.
Thanks for having me on.
Take care. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and leave a review. You can find me on www.soullevelhealing.com. Bye for now.